Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 104. I'm so glad that you're here today. Today's conversation is one that I feel like every one of us is experiencing this, but not many people talk about it honestly, and that's outgrowing people. We're going to be talking about that. Have you noticed that a friendship, it feels different, I think is the word that I'm looking for, than it used to? Maybe the conversations that once energized you, they leave you feeling drained. Maybe you've changed, your priorities have shifted, and suddenly you don't feel as connected with people that you've known for years. And then on comes this guilt. You wonder if you're being selfish. You wonder if you're expecting too much. You wonder if something is wrong with you. But what if nothing's wrong? What if things have just naturally changed in your relationships? Like maybe you're in a season of growth. Today we're going to talk about why friendships have seasons and how to let go with love instead of resentment, and how to make space with aligned relationships, and why that's one of the healthiest things that you could do. So let's dive in. I wonder if our friendships are not meant to stay the same forever. I think one of the biggest lies that we could tell ourselves is that if someone has been in our life for so long, they have to stay there because that's just where they've been. They should stay that way forever. But then I want you to think about every other part of your life. You might outgrow clothes, you might outgrow jobs, you might outgrow routines, you might even outgrow some of your dreams. And for some reason, we've thought that friendships are one of those things that they're not allowed to change. And I think that that's false. Friendships evolve, and they evolve because people evolve. The version of you that was 7 when you met someone is not the same at 25. The version of you that has become a parent is not the same afterwards or before. The version of you that has known loss is not the same version of you after grief. Every experience reshapes us. Sometimes people grow together. Sometimes they grow in different directions. And neither of them is wrong. We often think that relationships changing or friendships changing means that someone has failed. And no one has failed. It's just things have changed. They've grown in a different direction. And for some reason, we have almost made it seem like every friendship is supposed to stick with us. And when they don't, there's like this falling out or this big changing thing. Today, I'm here to tell you that every friendship has a purpose. And I love thinking about friendships having seasons instead of them being forever. Some friends were there for your childhood. Some of them were there for you when you were in college. And some of them were there to help you survive a heartbreak or becoming a mom, stepping into motherhood. And some relationships, they start out to nourish your business dreams. And they make you laugh until your stomach hurts. And sometimes friendships, they teach us something. Sometimes they teach us joy. Sometimes they teach us how to navigate boundaries and setting them. I think sometimes friendships even teach us forgiveness. They teach us how to get through different seasons. And maybe they also teach us how to get away from things that we don't want anymore. They teach us what we don't want about ourselves. And sometimes leaving these people behind or leaving these relationships behind can feel a little heavy. And I think that's because those same people, they teach us, like, they shape us in different ways. But not every relationship is supposed to be lifelong. Because if we kept every single friend that we've ever had, there wouldn't be a loneliness epidemic. Sometimes people, they fulfill their purpose in our lives, and then they're done. And that's okay. Growth sometimes changes what feels comfortable. Here's something that I've noticed. The more that you grow, the more uncomfortable that old patterns become. Sometimes gossip felt normal before. Maybe you were just accustomed to it. And now it kind of feels heavy. And sometimes we were used to, like, complaining. Maybe we were used to, like, sitting around in a circle complaining, and that's how everyone felt connected. And now your conversations are about dreams and healing and books and ideas and purpose. And maybe you felt like you needed to people please constantly, and now you're learning healthy boundaries. Your tolerance has changed. Maybe there are things that you're feeling like they no longer feel peaceful. And you used to think other things felt peaceful, and now they don't. It doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else. It just means that you're becoming someone different. It doesn't mean you're becoming superior to others. It's nothing like that. It's just you're starting to realize that you want to protect the life that you're living or the life that you're building. And so that means that you realize you're responsible for that. And I'm not saying that friendships that you've had for a long time should diminish. I actually think it's beautiful when you're able to go through different seasons with people. But sometimes right now in the present, the love that you have for someone can look like distance. And we think that letting go, it has to be this big dramatic thing. There has to be this big fight. There has to be this big reason. It means blocking someone, removing them from all your socials. But sometimes letting go is just so much quieter. Sometimes you stop forcing the plans. You stop forcing, seeing each other all the time. You stop chasing people who just refuse to never reciprocate. You stop carrying, so to speak, the entire friendship. You stop being the one that initiates the invites, and you stop apologizing for growing. I think that's the big takeaway there. You just quietly realize that you can bless them from a distance. Not every friendship needs to have an explosive ending. And sometimes in the past, I feel like I may have struggled with this, where it's like, oh, I didn't realize, why this happened. And it's just some things simply fade because life changes. You can genuinely wish someone well without inviting them to every single chapter of your life. And that's okay. I think they can both exist. Both of those things can exist where you're just making the decision to actively move forward in your life without having to drag everyone through. Letting go doesn't mean that other person was bad. One mistake I think that we make is believing that someone has to be toxic before we're allowed to step away. I think that that's unhealthy. I think sometimes people are just great people and they're just not in our lives anymore. They're just not in the season of life that you are in. And that doesn't make them a villain. It doesn't make you a villain. Things don't need to end in this big blow up thing. It just means that we're in different values, and I know that can be a little bit difficult, especially if you have different priorities, whether it's life changes or different lifestyles. Maybe someone is really big on the party scene and that's just not who you are anymore. Maybe they have different goals. Maybe they want to climb the corporate ladder as much as possible, and you are kind of taking a back seat to that right now. I think that those things are accepting. It's okay for us to have different emotional maturity. We have different journeys. We have different paths, and we're going in different directions. I think it's okay to recognize and appreciate someone's role in your story without needing them to be meant for the next chapter. You can have gratitude and say goodbye. They can exist together. You don't have to feel guilty for becoming someone new. So I'm going to ask you to just kind of stop feeling guilty for that. You've been working on yourself. You've been working on your life, your priorities, you're going to therapy, you're reading books, you're navigating a different time. And so you shouldn't feel guilty for the way that you're setting boundaries. You shouldn't feel guilty for saying your spirituality has grown in a certain way and you just want to continue doing that. You shouldn't apologize for starting a business. You shouldn't apologize for becoming more confident. Your relationships are going to naturally shift. That's not something to fear. It's just evidence that you're changing. And sometimes that guilt can, worry you because you don't want to hurt people. But shrinking yourself to make others comfortable isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. And you're allowed to become someone that younger you never imagined. And yes, some relationships will not come with you. You have to make space for those aligned relationships. One of the hardest parts about letting friendships change is that there's loneliness in between there. Maybe you just haven't found your new people yet, but the old relationships also don't fit anymore. And that middle season can feel incredibly lonely, but don't rush it. Empty space is not a problem. Sometimes it's just making room. And you can't receive new relationships with desperately clinging on to older ones. And some of the most meaningful relationships happen when you're doing the work on becoming yourself. And now people are meeting the real you, not the version of you who constantly adjusted to keep everyone happy. Your future friendships, they won't require pretending. They celebrate your growth without questioning it. Before asking where your new people are, ask yourself, am I becoming the kind of friends I'm hoping to find? Am I encouraging? Do I celebrate people? Do I listen? Do I show up? Do I keep my word? Do I communicate honestly? Healthy friendships begin with healthy people. The more emotionally healthy you become, the healthier your relationships naturally become. I've put together some tools that'll help help you navigate if you feel like your friendships are changing. Number 1, a friendship inventory journal. Write down the people closest to you and ask yourself, how do I feel after spending time with them? Can I fully be myself? Is this relationship mutual? Do we encourage growth in one another? Am I staying because of history or because of connection? This isn't about judging people. It's about creating awareness. Number 2, release without resentment. Write a letter that you would never send. Thank the people for what they brought into your life. Acknowledge what you've learned and release the expectations. Wish them well. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes it's just something that you create with yourself. Number 3, a protect your energy calendar. For 1 month, pay attention to how your social interactions affect you. After each visit or each phone call, rate your energy from 1 to 10. Notice patterns. Some people are going to refill your cup. Others are going to consistently empty it. Awareness helps you make easier, healthier choices. Number 4, say yes to new rooms. If you've been craving new relationships or friendships, intentionally place yourself where like-minded people gather. Join a book club, attend community events, volunteer, take a class, join a walking group, or in my case, start a walking group, go to networking events. The friendships you're praying for usually aren't going to knock on your front door. Sometimes you have to meet them halfway. Number 5, leave space before filling it. Don't rush to replace every friendship immediately. Allow yourself to enjoy your own company. Spend time learning what brings you peace. Healthy relationships or friendships are easier to recognize when you're no longer afraid of being alone. Today's book suggestion is The Gift of Imperfection by Brené Brown. It's a beautiful reminder that belonging starts with being authentic rather than trying to fit in. It explores vulnerability, boundaries, and self-worth. And, all these things are essential to the way friendships begin to change. If you're grieving a friendship right now, I want you to know this. It's okay to miss people and still know that they aren't meant for this chapter. It's okay to appreciate what was without trying to recreate it. It's okay to love people from a distance, and it's okay to make room for relationships that reflect the person you're becoming. You don't have to force what no longer fits. You don't have to apologize for growing, because every new version of you deserves relationships that feel safe, reciprocal, and life-giving. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love if you would share it with someone you may be navigating changing friendships too. And if you haven't already, I want you to leave us a review. It helps more people find the show and become the boss of their own lives. Until next time, I want you to remember this. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to protect your peace. And you're absolutely allowed to outgrow people. I'll see you in the next episode.